Hello shooters, today's YouTube video is about flashlights and handguns. We'll do flashlights and long guns in a different YouTube video. They're different subjects, they're handled a little bit differently. The material we have for flashlights and handguns will fill up one, maybe two of these video segments. Note that we have the yellow training barrel installed in the Smith & Wesson M&P because we're in the house and we have at least one locked door between us and any live ammunition. I like handgun mounted lights. They allow for very easy and fast manipulation. They allow for extremely fast follow-up shots because you can have a full firing grip on the handgun instead of some type of compromise, which all other handheld light techniques are with handguns. They're compromises. We'll talk about the pros and the cons to each of them. There is a con to a handgun mounted light. When it comes time for target ID, in order to ID the target, I need to point my handgun at the target, and it may not be somebody that I'm wanting to shoot. Maybe a neighbor boy or maybe something else that I don't want to point a loaded firearm at. So there is merit to having a handheld flashlight that's separate from the light on your gun. Another reason that I like to have a light on the gun and a light in my hand is because the two is one is none rule. If I have two lights and I drop one or the battery dies, I still got another light. If I'm just running with one light, whether it's on the handgun or if I'm just running one light here, I drop it or the battery runs out, I'm in the dark, which is no good. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about, there's four basic flashlight techniques when we're talking about handheld flashlights and handguns. The first one is the FBI technique, where you take the flashlight and you hold it out here, anywhere actually. You can hold it out here like this. I heard that one of the reasons why is so that if there was a bad guy, that he'd shoot at the light, and that kind of saves you from the line of fire. I don't subscribe to that idea at all. I've seen bad guys shoot. Most of them are really sucky shots, and so I would be afraid, even holding the handheld flashlight out here, that if they're aiming at the light, they're going to hit me. I've never been up an enemy that was accurate enough for me to think, oh crap, I'll hold my light out here and he'll shoot the light and won't hit me. I don't believe that. But there is merit to this flashlight technique in that if there's a tree or a pillar back there, and I wanted to try and highlight what was behind the tree or pillar so I could see the shadow on the opposing side, I might be able to see what's behind a tree or a pillar without exposing the rest of my body to the bad guy trying to hide back there. That's a very limited technique, but it's one that you should think about and keep in your arsenal, keep in your toolbox, is the FBI technique. Another downside to this technique, my camera is remote, there's nobody behind it. Another downside to this technique is all shots are one-handed. And if you spend any time on the range at all, which you should, you also know that any shot one-handed, the first shot and all subsequent follow-up shots are much slower than if you can hold the handgun in two hands. So, downside to this is the biggest downside is you're shooting one-handed. The next technique is the neck technique, where you hold it right, you index against your neck, and as you turn your upper body, that's where the light goes. So if this one is designed to kind of keep the enemy away from you, from enemy fire, this one is just lighting up your head for a target. I don't see much use of utility in the neck technique. It has the same downfall as the FBI technique in that all shots are fired one-handed. One thing this does that the FBI technique doesn't do quite so bad is, you'll see this when we do some nighttime stuff, is when I use this technique, it lights up my forearm and telegraphs to the whole world over there exactly where I'm at. With the other two techniques we're going to talk about, which is the Harrys and the Rogers, when you're holding the flashlight out, the flashlight masks what's behind the light pretty much. You don't see my body, and you'll see that. when we talk about, when we go to some night firing for that, not night firing, but night setups. And so let's go into those. We have the Harry's technique, which is real popular with all the guys that shoot the Weaver style, back of hand against back of hand, and you're pressing together. You're pressing the two hands together like this. You do need to be careful about how you get into this technique. If your handgun's already out, you need to bring the light up here. If the light is already out, you know, you're IDing a target, then you've got to bring the handgun up and around. If you try and do this stuff, notice that the barrel is passing my forearm there. That's called sweeping. Sweeping is always a bad idea. In the real world, you will sweep yourself and you'll sweep your buddies inadvertently. You want to keep all sweeping to a minimum. The more times you sweep yourself or you sweep somebody you don't want to shoot, the greater the odds that you'll actually shoot yourself or some other person. So if you use this technique, you know, to ID or whatever, even if you're coming out here and then you want to come into a two-handed firing, remember to bring the handgun up and around. Okay. If you've already got your handgun up and you want to bring the light over to there, you got to come underneath. Okay. So do not do this or do not do this. Okay. Do this or do this. Now, follow-up shots, first shots and follow-up shots are faster this way than one-handed, but they're not as fast as a two-hand hold. And that brings us to the Rogers technique. Rogers technique, some people call it the cigar technique. You hold it between your first and middle finger there and use this beefy part of your thumb to activate the light switch, and you actually hold it in a two-hand hold, just almost like if I don't have the flashlight. Downside to this, note that right here is the magazine release button. If you shoot high thumbs, which I do, so I can bring my other hand in there for a nice firing grip, for the Rogers you need to drop the thumb down to protect the mag release, because the light is in very close proximity to that mag release. And under recoil, whoops, let me get the light off. Under recoil, you may bump the mag release, thus dropping your full mag, which in a gunfight is a really bad idea. So that's the downside to the Rogers, is you got to protect the mag release. What we're going to do is we're going to go out to the range and we're going to live fire each of these techniques at some various targets to show which one's faster for the first shot, which one's faster for follow-up shots, if there's a difference between transitioning between multiple targets, and then we'll actually do some demonstrations at night of what these different light techniques look like in the dark, and then you can make up your mind which one to practice the most. You should practice all of them a little bit so you have them in your arsenal, but this should give you an idea of which one you'll use the most, which one you need to spend the most time on. So let's head out. Okay, shooters, we know the 4 different ways to use a flashlight. Now we're going to see how those impact on shooting at targets, because some of them will be slower than others, some will be faster than others. Let's see which one allows us to get the fastest time with the most control. Okay, FBI technique. Okay, now the neck technique. Okay, Harry's technique, or Weaver style flashlight. Okay, gonna fire one shot. I've only got one round in the gun, empty mag. Gonna fire one shot, gonna get slide lock, gonna put a mag in. All shots are gonna be on the top left target. Rogers technique. Okay, reload drill with light on gun. Okay, type 3, FBI. Okay, Rogers type 3. Strip the mag, work the slide, mag reload. Okay, now flashlight on the gun.